Good.
John Fredericks, America's Godzilla of Truth. He's popular and proficient in picking politics with prophetic precision. And now J. Fred's picking sports. Are y'all ready for this? All across the airwaves and streams of the John Fredericks Media Network, John, Jack, and Nate, three guys that are pretty wise when it comes to picking winners. Football, basketball, baseball, soccer, golf, UFC battles, you name it. When the game is on your mind and money's on the line, Godzilla Wins is your guide to picking winners. Before you make that play, hear what J. Fred has to say. Godzilla Wins on the John Fredericks Media Network.
Oh yeah, for entertainment purposes only.
Good morning and welcome to episode 120 of the Godzilla Wins Sports and Pick Show every Saturday. We have a loaded up show. We're doing a little bit of an old school look. We're doing a little bit of our summertime format. We got topics to discuss, less game by game, bang, bang, bang picks. We are going to be talking. We're going to slow down a little bit. We're going to cover some NFL topics that we've been looking at all week. We're going to slow down, talk a little college football. It's going to be an exciting show. I think it's going to be fun. We have a whole loaded panel of guests. We have Jack Fredericks, editor extraordinaire of GodzillaWins.com. We have Peter Kreibel, all things Baltimore Ravens expert and UVA football. And we have Jay Delsing from Golf with Jay Delsing. Jay, welcome to the show.
What's going on, boys? Good morning. Let's get this thing rolling. I'm excited to be with you.
All right. Well, for those of you just tuning in, we do talk about gambling, but this is for entertainment purposes only. If you have a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. That's 1-800-426-2537. If you live in Colorado, Illinois, Indiana, Louisiana, Maryland, Michigan, Nebraska, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, or Wyoming, call 1-800-327-5050 or visit gamblinghelpline-ma.org. Call 877-GHOPE-NY, text HOPE-NY. If you live in New York, please gamble responsibly and call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. If you live in Arizona, 1-800-522-4700. If you're in Kansas or New Hampshire, 888-79-7777, or visit ccpg.org. If you live in Connecticut, 1-800-BETS-OFF if you're in Iowa, or visit opgr.org if you live in Oregon. All right. We are ready to have a show. Peter Kreibel. Did I mispronounce your name? I did. Okay. So let's get into it. We're just going to lead with Thursday Night Football. Tua had another bad concussion. This one looked as bad or worse than some of the other ones, and the hit wasn't that dramatic. I'm just going to lead with Peter here. Peter, what are we thinking about Tua's future in the NFL after seeing another one of these hits?
Yeah, I think, for the casual fan or anyone who hasn't played football at that level, I think we would have been out after the hit against the Bengals. It's been a scary road for Tua. We've seen this before, but it's just hard to figure out where he stands because he is such a competitor. They're down 21 points when he lowers the crown of his helmet into the defender and does that. So you just have to understand that these players have to be a little bit crazy to play this sport. And in that same vein, it's hard to give it up. So I think we see Tua back, but again, it's his decision ultimately. And he has to consider not only his health, but what that means for his family. And because the big thing for him is whether it's an injury designation or not, he's walking away with millions of dollars, $90 million if it is not classified as an injury designation, which is more money than I'll ever see, and 167 if it is. It'd be hard to imagine Miami being able to manipulate it and get it to be a retirement that isn't injury classified. But I think, if you're thinking sensible, he should probably give it up.
Yeah. Jack?
Yeah, this is
texting all night about it, and it didn't seem like that crazy when the hit happened, but then it got bad.
Well, you always see the balled up fist and those couple indicators that we've all learned is a major indicator of a concussion and possibly some long-term damage. It's frustrating to watch. Tua's a young player. He's really good. He's resurrected the Miami Dolphins along with Mike McDaniel to a relevant spot where they compete mostly every week, although they got blown out in Buffalo or against Buffalo. I don't think that is a great indicator of where they are, though I've been talking about how the Dolphins maybe are slipping a little bit. But you feel bad for him. You feel for his safety. You want him to continue playing football, like Peter said, but this is becoming such an issue for him. He's small. I don't know if it's an offensive line issue where they just sort of can't protect him. It doesn't really seem like that's always the case with Tua. And then going forward, I know Mike McDaniel wants to bring in a veteran. I mean, they're going to have one for a couple weeks at least while he goes through protocol. I don't know who that would be. But it's difficult to see because it just happens so frequently. And as we know with concussions, like the first one happens and then you're more prone to them. So it's not surprising to see this, but it is difficult to watch this all the time. And then of course on Thursday night where he's the prime time spot, it's tough.
Yeah, I mean, we hear, fighters talking about it all the time, and in combat sports, it's like, everyone has a really great chin when they start, and then, it just sort of gets worn down a little bit over time. And after that first big knockout, it seems like they kind of come with a little bit more frequency. And it seems like it's kind of the same way for, players in the NFL. After that first big concussion, things start to really kind of, it starts to really be amplified every time they get hit in the head. Jay, I mean, what do you do if you're Miami? I mean, my gut reaction is, and you've been in, professional sports seasons as an athlete, my gut reaction is that he just needs to take some time, regardless of if he's healed from the concussion, just so that he can approach this from sort of a clear frame of mind.
You're talking about a really difficult situation as an athlete. I mean, at his age, you're going to feel really almost invincible. And then these concussions come in. Guys, remember this. The helmets are designed to prevent skull fractures. They're not designed to prevent concussions. And these guys, it's a double-edged sword. You put these helmets on, and these guys feel like, man, I am completely protected. I'm going to lead with my head. And they do better if they didn't have helmets on. It's insane to think of, but you're not going to lead with your head unless you have this protective shell on your head. My nephew, Taylor Twellman, played the MLS and had 8 concussions and had a gruesome injury against the LA Galaxy that ended his career. And so I know a lot about these concussions. And as an athlete, I'm sitting there thinking, I'm Tua, I'm a young man. I've already got my bag of money. What do I do here? Because his entire world is wrapped around Sunday football, man, and the NFL. And the NFL, the animal that the NFL is, it's like a drug. You guys, you walk out and you go in front of these, you're a gladiator and you walk out in front of, somewhere between 50 and 100,000 people. And there's a lot on the table. The good news is we're knowing more and more about concussions than we ever have. The points you guys bring up are absolutely correct, right? After the first one, you're much more prone to them. But I can tell you, my nephew is 42 years old. He still can't watch a movie. He still has to sit in dark rooms at times and try to regain his focus. It is a lot. It is a lot. So hopefully I listened to the Miami team, the culture. Everybody seems like they're saying the right things. The decision is probably Tua's and Tua's family alone. It's a tough one though to walk away, guys. I hated retiring from professional golf because it's almost like they say athletes die 2 deaths. When you retire, it's tough. Good news is he's got money and some support. The bad news is walking away from that drug on Sunday afternoon and Sunday evening, Thursday night. It's tough.
And I mean, I think it's worth considering too that the Tua is still young. Even if he just wanted to walk away for the rest of this season and just sort of reevaluate, slow everything down, and then make a determination in the offseason if he wants to return, like that's still a possibility for him. I mean, this isn't, I think he's 25 years old. I mean, quarterbacks play until they're 40 in the NFL sometimes. So, I mean, Tua's got time if he wants to just, take a season, but I feel like it's really worth sort of weighing this thing out for longer than, I'm through the concussion protocol, so I'm back on the field, because at this point it just feels, almost dangerous. And I think that's sort of where Mike McDaniel is trying to get him to go. And some other coaches in the league weren't even, were kind of more pointed. I mean, Antonio Pierce got asked about it during an interview for the Raiders with the Raiders, and he was basically like, I'd tell him to retire, man. He's like, it's not worth it. He's like, I played in the NFL. He's like, it's not worth it. Your family is what matters. Your life after football matters. You can't put yourself at this much risk for being able to not enjoy that aspect of your life. So yeah, I mean, everyone's got a lot of opinions. Looks like we're welcoming John. It looks like the bus is actually moving.
We're on the road going somewhere, some event, Pittsburgh area.
So I'm not the only one on the road here.
Hey, there's a lot of.
There's Dan. Dan's on the road too.
There's a lot of.
I've been here the whole time. I just didn't want to interrupt your discussion because you were making some really good points.
Dan, I got to tell you, your audio is not. We can't work with your audio, Dan. I'm sorry. It's not. I can barely hear it on mine. And I've already got a couple people text me on the radio that it's not coming through. So we're going to have to pass on this session. But thank you. Sometimes this happens to me. It happens to me all the time where you're on the road and you just can't get a connection, and you just get bad audio. But we'll try to do the best we can. We should be at our stable location here in the next couple of minutes, so we can go from there. But Jay, it's good to have you here, and I just want to weigh in on two things. Number one, don't look now, Jay. Don't look now. But somehow, some way, the Detroit Tigers are 3 games out of the wild card. So you got 16 games to go, and somehow you've snuck in with pennant race. And if you're a Tigers fan, this got to be very exciting. All I ask for as a fan is, do I have meaningful games in September? And they do. I mean, they're 3 games out. They're 3 games behind Kansas City, and so they or Boston or somebody. So they got a hell of a shot. So. Great job, Hintz. Great job, Tigers. As far as Tua is concerned, I mean, if that's my son, I'll take it from a different perspective, Jay, and guys. If that's my son, I want him out. Period. I want him out. I don't care what the NFL is, what the money is. I want him out. I want to protect it. I want him with his family. I want him to live a normal life and not have these repercussions that a lot of these concussion players have. And so just as a father, I want him out of there like ASAP. I want him home. I want him safe. I want him with his family. And he's got a great life ahead of him that doesn't have to involve playing NFL games in Miami on a Sunday. I want my son home, and I want him safe.
All right. Well, thank you, John, for coming and making your impression on the show early. The reason that we had Dan on here was because we really wanted to talk about this really thoughtful article he wrote, and that's why he was calling in. I think now he's probably – Dan, if you're still on, just say you're still on, but I assume he probably hung up. Okay. We wanted to talk a little bit about sort of just the contrasting styles. Last Saturday, we saw sort of what happens when a real college football coach, Matt Rule, for Nebraska, takes on sort of just a flash and, the flash and sort of smoke and mirrors show of the Colorado Buffaloes team. And it really just put into contrast, what it looks like to really build a program sustainably. Matt Rule's worked really hard at recruiting. The offensive line play was miles above sort of what Colorado was able to put on the field. Coaching level itself seemed better. There seemed to be more care for the players. They seemed to play like a more cohesive team. All of those things that you want, you could see in a Nebraska team, and you had trouble seeing in a Colorado. We've been talking about this article all week that Dan wrote that's really excellent, sort of describing, the upward trajectory of Nebraska and the downward trajectory of Colorado. It'll probably be continuing for the next few seasons. But Jack, I know that you've been sort of digging into this article, and since Dan isn't here to really sort of represent it, I was hoping that maybe you could talk a little bit more about sort of what's been going on with I guess Colorado football and why this is such a bad look and why it's so unsustainable.
Sure, yeah. So the article, and everybody can go to GodzillaWins.com and find it. I think it's called "Why Matt Rule Passed Deion Sanders" or "Why Matt Rule Passed Deion," something like that. And what Dan basically does is he describes two programs going in two different directions. You've got Colorado, which is going backwards, and you've got Nebraska, which is in its second, I think second year under Matt Rule, is starting to look ahead. And a lot of the points that Dan makes, most of which are very, very strong, are have to do with just the overall the understanding that in order to build a successful long-term college program, you need to be able to invest in not just the people who are in your immediate surroundings, whether that's your teammates, your coaches, your staff, etc., but also the school's culture, the state. And Dan does a great job of showing how Matt Rule really understands this long-term investment. Deion, on the other hand, doesn't seem to have as much interest in building Colorado as a program. I don't know if it's more like, he wants to move on, he's here to build his profile, etc. But there's definitely a disconnect here between what is good for Colorado football and what is good for Deion Sanders, Shedeur Sanders, and Travis Hunter. No question about it. Deion has a terrific skill players. He had a really good run at the beginning of the last season, but he's lost like his last 8 out of 9, I believe, which I think Dan outlines in the article. His only win was a squeaker against an FCS team. He got blown out against Nebraska. And basically, Dan's argument is that this is a good example of two programs with different priorities, one program, Colorado, is going backwards because of those priorities. The other program is going forward. So if you haven't read the article, it's really wonderful. Dan does a great job in that analysis, and I really highly recommend it. You can go to Godzilla Wins and find it.
Yeah, I mean, Jay, I know that you read the article too, and you had some thoughts. I mean, I definitely just sort of keep thinking about it from like, what is Deion doing at Colorado, right? He has no ties to it. It's just a place that offered him a job. At Jackson State, it felt like he had purpose. He was really trying to sort of elevate the program, elevate the Southwestern Athletic Conference. Like, it just felt like he was trying to sort of build a thing. But at Colorado, it just doesn't feel like that. So,
guys, I love the article. Dan did a phenomenal job, and he's right. I think the overall health of Nebraska versus Colorado is well documented. I started diving in, and since Deion's I'm going to throw a different slant at this thing, though, because we live in a world of instant gratification, man. And what Matt Rule is doing is much better for the long-term health of the Nebraska football team. But since Deion's come to Colorado, enrollment, just applications are up 20%. Over 67,000 kids have wanted to go to Boulder. Last year, in 6 home games, they brought in $113.2 million in economic impact because for the first time in the history of Colorado football, they sold out every single home game. Okay. And the average spend for the people that are going in the stadium for the last 10 years has been right around $102. It's increased to $182. And the last thing is his social media thing that he does. And look, most of the stuff that Deion does irritates the hell out of me. I mean, he's dissed a reporter because he didn't like the question. He's done also, but I'm telling you, there's other things going on here, and Colorado is seeing a massive boom in interest and in money that has come into the school. Now, 5 years from now, Deion's probably gone, and this thing will drop like a damn rock, right? But right now, there's other things that are going on besides winning football games. I don't know how important they are. I love what Dan wrote, but Dion is a money-making machine.
Yeah. I mean, Peter, do you worry like if and when Dion leaves, it seems like not a matter of, if, but just when it's going to happen. Like, are you sort of, thanks for the memories if you're a Colorado booster, or are you pretty worried about the state that he's going to leave the program in after he leaves?
Thanks for the money. I mean, you didn't win many games, but you get paid. Everyone gets paid. I think it's just it's been a superficial run on surface level. It looks good. It's fun, but it just neglects kind of the infrastructure that you need to have a good football team. And that's offensive line coaching and defensive line coaching. And you can have Jimmy Horn Jr. who runs a 4-3. That's great, but you're not going to win games. You'll put up yards. It's fun. Everything about Colorado is fun. It just doesn't correlate to winning games.
John, I'll give you the final word and then do healthy sell. All right.
Yeah, if I could just weigh in and then I'll do healthy sell. By the way, thank goodness for that last night. I got in late and had to get some sleep. So what we really need here, we need the perfect coach is going to be the Frankenstein merger between Debo Sweeney and Deion Sanders. One guy will not go in the portal. The other guy is trying to build a program solely with the portal. Neither of those are successful. Both are failing. And there needs to be some kind of a merger in the middle. But as far as Deion Sanders is concerned, I mean, I'm not a Buffalo's fan, but I'm a Deion fan. And he's brought excitement. He's brought excitement to the city. He's brought excitement to the university. He's brought energy. He's brought all kinds of things. Cash, obviously, is one of them. They're selling out. The boosters are excited. But court's out. I mean, we're basically, we want to indict his philosophy after, a season and 2 games, and he got off to a great start last year. So let's see what happens. I mean, his philosophy is, I'm going to build this team through the portal. That's the way I'm going to do it. Would I do that if I was a coach? No, I wouldn't, because I believe in establishing a culture and a program, and you can't do that when you got just a revolving door of guys coming in for a bigger NIL check. I don't think it's going to be successful, but let's wait and see how the thing plays out. Right now, what's saving him is he's got some really tremendous athletes there, and it makes it to be a somewhat exciting team. But I think we're going to have to get some kind of a merger between these two coaches, because neither way to do this seems to be successful right now. But anyway, healthy cell. If you're not taking healthy cell REM sleep, now, Peter Kriebel here, he doesn't need it because he's like 20-something years old. He's in college. He's fine. But as you get a little bit older, man, you got to get that sleep. It is the most important thing that you can possibly get. And that's why REM sleep is so critical. All you got to do is go to healthycell.com/Godzilla, healthycell.com/Godzilla. You get REM sleep there. You're going to get 20% off with promo code Godzilla. You take that. I took it last night. I went to bed at 12:45 a.m. because I got in very, very late for my train coming in from Washington. And I'm like, man, I got to get up in a few hours. I got to get some sleep. Yeah, I'm kind of wired. I just took Lyft home, took that REM sleep, 10 minutes, me and the cat out like a light. And I slept right through the night, jumped up when the bell went off. So do yourself a favor, because the body regenerates. Healthycell.com, promo code Godzilla. Do it now. Get your Healthy Cell, get your REM sleep, and start feeling better. Healthycell.com/Godzilla. Promo code Godzilla, 20% off.
All right. So one of the other big sports topics that sort of has been making the news is the Pac-12 was almost dead and buried. I think they were just getting ready to bring the dirt over and fill in the grave. And then now they've signed 4 schools, and it looks like the Pac-12 is going to try and rebuild, with the majority of it coming from the Mountain West at this point, conference, which may be ending soon, I guess, by the looks of it. So I guess, in 2026, the Pac-12 is going to have a much different look. It's going to be much more traditional in terms of, I think, these are West Coast teams playing other West Coast teams in a way that, we're growing increasingly unaccustomed to. But, is this a good move? I mean, there's just 2 schools in the Pac-12 right now. They have 2 years to rebuild it per the NCAA, but this just I guess like Peter, just like what is going on? Like, are they going to be able to do this?
The Pac-12, the glory days are over. To say anything else is just you're fooling yourself. It's good that they can bring in a Boise State and give us something, just keep it alive, but it might only be in name value. I mean, college football just continues to stratify, and I mean, this is just further proof. It's fun. You know, it would be sad to really lose the conference, but as we know it is gone.
Yeah, I think so. John?
Well, listen, I mean, it's the Pac-4, right? I mean, they got 4 teams. They got to go somewhere. I kind of like the spirit of what they're doing. I mean, I'm excited by this. Like, I'm not a Pac-12 fan. I live in Pittsburgh, right? We don't go to the West except Vegas. That's it. By the way, I'm trying to buy a station there, Jay. I'm going to move you there when we do. But look, I think it's exciting that they're trying to develop a new Pac something, and I got to hand it to them. At least they're putting together some kind of a program to save themselves. And you got to start with 4. You got to start with somewhere. So, you know, is it going to go anywhere? I don't know. I don't know enough about, you know, the various economics of it. But just as a layman outsider, I'm excited about the prospect of what they're doing.
Yeah, just to clarify, it's not the Pac-4 right now. It is, in fact, the Pac-2. There are only 2 remaining schools in the Pac-12 as they rebuild Oregon State and Washington State. And they just, I don't know, tripled their number when they added 4 Mountain West teams for upcoming seasons in 26-27. Jay,
well, I think I read there's 2 other teams that are seriously considering it, which would bring them to 4. I think that's that's kind of where we are with that. But hey, you know, let's start with the Pac-4. How many teams does a Big 12 have now? 15? Or how many teams does a Big 10 have? 20? I mean, I just think, look, it's we're down to Power 4. I mean, now when I have, you know, coaches on my show, I can't say, you know, such and such a school Power 5. I got to say Power 4 is one of the powers went away. So I think it's fun to see what they do out there. And, you know, look, this whole idea of flying across the country is insane. I mean, it's just insanity for college kids. I mean, it's especially when you get to basketball and baseball, it's absolutely insanity. I mean, you look at West Virginia right now, you know, the way the Big 12 made it is home and away, home and away, home and away. But it's not that easy. So you got to fly to Arizona, take 2 planes, get there. I mean, it's like 7 hours, 9 hours in the plane. You got to take a bus to Pittsburgh. Then you got to take a bus to your hotel. You know, then you get there on Wednesday, Thursday. You're jet lagged. You're playing Friday. I mean, you're getting home on Monday. And then,
at least
and then you got to go back out to, you know, Provo or something. It's nuts. But, you know, it is what it is.
Jay, is this just what we got to get used to now?
Guys, I'm old. I can't, if you put a gun to my head, I couldn't complete these conferences if you tried. I mean, all I'm thinking of is when I think of baseball, because I think they probably have the most games. Maybe volleyball gets pretty close. How in the hell do you do this? I mean, you can call UCLA and USC and put them in whatever conference you want, but hell, they're on the West Coast, man. And you're going to try to do, I mean, somebody is going to have to get their scheduling tightened up so well, guys, that all the tradition, I think Peter said it well. This is what it looks like. We got to get used to it. But boy, it's just odd. You know, the SEC's how many schools are in the SEC total now? Is it 16 or 14? I mean, it's every single, even the best are even hard to try to keep up with, you know? And so this is obviously about dough. It's always about dough. And when it stops being about money, it's still about money, you know? And so the Pac-10's getting paid. I think I saw, I got water, Nate, that it's each school is going to have to pay the Pac, however many are left, $18 million if they leave in 2 years. And if they leave in 1 year, it's 36 million or 32 million, something like that. So, but what is the however remaining schools are in the Pac conference, what's the money going to do? I mean, there's only so many good programs you want to have in your umbrella, right? I mean, great San Diego State, great, but I always kind of thought the Mountain West was a little intriguing because I felt like they played a certain brand, of football, and it seemed to me, and maybe I'm wrong, but it seemed to me like they ran the scores up, they passed the ball a lot, and it was always fun that if I came in having a couple beers, I might be able to get an evening bet on a late night school over there. It was always kind of now I have no idea. So I think you're totally right. I think Peter said it well. It is interesting, but it's harder than heck to try to follow.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that this is a move, even beyond sort of football. Is I think that they're trying to position themselves as sort of a basketball focused conference based on the acquisitions they made. They picked up some programs that typically have fairly strong basketball programs. Colorado State, San Diego State, Boise State is often a threat to make the tournament. The one that I missed, Jack, and we were talking about it, what the heck's Nevada going to do in the reshaped Mountain West? Is they've sort of become better and better at basketball and a more prominent sort of national name on that schedule, and they're going to be a team without a home pretty soon. Yeah,
too bad they suck at football. I mean I was surprised to see Nevada left off that list because that's a pretty proud Mountain West team with a lot of history, a lot of rivalry towards some of these other teams, Boise State in particular, et cetera. They have had good football programs in the past. Obviously, football makes everybody money. That's the name of the game. Basketball is a great sport. We love watching it, but it doesn't make these schools quite as much money as football. The TV contracts for the schools are incredible for football. So I don't know if Nevada just doesn't draw enough eyeballs for football that it made sense for the Pac-12 to extend them an offer. Maybe they're still thinking about it. This is a couple years away. Nevada could announce in a year or 3 months or something. Oh yeah, we're going to join the Pac-12 as well. Maybe they feel like there's different options or better options out there for them. I think the Big 12 is a good option for Nevada if it ever became available. Obviously, the Big 12 is a huge conference. If Dan were here, he would laugh and say, "Well, yeah, the Big 12 is a good option for any team that's not in a Power 5 conference." But I think Nevada makes sense for the Big 12 as well because they are they're a great basketball school. They have great history with their basketball program, and we fell in love with Mountain West basketball last year, and we got kind of torched for that in the tournament. But Nevada's a great basketball school, good program there. So I'm a little disappointed to see them left out of that discussion for sure, because I think they have a lot to offer. But as far as football goes, it's pretty difficult to see what they have to offer. They would get torched in a bigger, more powerful conference, and they just don't even bring the eyeballs. Like, when Nebraska sucks, people still watch. Notre Dame can win 4 games, and people still watch Notre Dame every week. I'm not sure people would watch. I don't think people watch Nevada when they win 9 games on football. It's just not a big culture up there. Nevada is just not really a football state in the same way that some of these other states are. Even down here in Arizona, there's some excitement for the Sun Devils that I don't. If Nevada was 3-0, nobody would be talking about it.
All right, Peter Kriebel, our man on the ground in Virginia. We are about ready to preview this UVA Maryland game. Looks like UVA is the slightest of underdogs, maybe 1 point in this game. I'm just going to give the floor to you. Just tell us what people should be watching for today. What are the big storylines for UVA Maryland coming up?
Absolutely. Before we look ahead, let's go back to last week. They play Wake Forest, and this was not a game that they would have won last year. The team, the fiber of the team, they just wouldn't have been. They would have lost most likely because they get in a hole early, something that happened often last year. And instead of getting down on themselves about the turnovers, they stayed in the game, weathered the storm, and Calandry just kept moving the ball. And then ultimately it was the defense that came up with a big turnover, something that they haven't done. They didn't do it last year. And so I just think that this UVA team is different. They're not going to blow anyone out, but maybe, just maybe, they have regressed to the mean and will win some close games, which would be a massive improvement. So looking ahead to Maryland, there are a couple things really to key into. Maryland has right now the nation's leading receiver, PFF's highest graded receiver, Ty Felton. He can hurt you in a lot of ways. They get him the ball at all levels of the field. And so for Virginia, we don't run a scheme that is heavy in man coverage. We're primarily a zone coverage team. And so you say, oh, that's good. You don't want to leave someone on an island. But the problem with that is that sometimes when you run these quarters coverages or these cover threes, it really is functionally man coverage on the perimeter. And so it's going to have to be a little bit of a different game plan to take away Felton. Maryland doesn't run the ball particularly well. They're not a bad running team. So I think you have to respect the run and maybe force them to go deep. And if that leaves Felton one-on-one, so be it. But I don't think that you can die the slow death and, bend but don't break, because Felton will break you if you give him easy completions. He's not a guy that you can come up and assume that you're going to make the tackle on the first attempt.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot to be excited about if you are a Virginia fan. I mean, it's nice 2-0 start for sure, and I think that with Calandria, like, you definitely feel like you have a quarterback now, like, which is pretty, got to be a pretty huge feeling as well if you're a Cavaliers fan. John, why don't you tell us a little bit about Native Path here?
Well, listen, I just went and got a cup of coffee and put my Native Path collagen in it, and why this is one of the most important ingredients you could possibly take. And I tell you what, I mean, I'm feeling better at 66, Jay, than I have in a long time. And a lot of these things, Healthy Cell, I take the bio, I take the vitamins there in a gel. I'm getting, a solid 6 hours sleep a night, which I haven't done in a while. But one of the things I take now is this collagen. And the problem is, folks, as you get older, this is an essential nutrient that your body needs. Absolutely essential. And it just depletes out. And you're not getting it the way you did earlier in life because of the various meat problems we have. We got all this Frankenstein meat out there. What collagen does, it is so critical for joints, for bones, for your hair, for nails, but how you feel overall. And I take 2 scoops a day. I put it right in my coffee. I got it right here, right in this cup of coffee. I don't have my Beard Vet cup today. I was a little late getting in the Trump bus here. We're going to an event, but I put it right in here, Jay. I got my what is that thing called? That frother thing. I travel with that thing now. I'm in love with that froth. Put my little frother in, put a little cream in it. Boom, I'm good to go. And I've been feeling better. And the thing is, the price point of this, there's no barrier to entry. I mean, if you want to try it for a month, it's $31. If you want to get several months, it goes down to as low as $24. But all you have to do is go to getnativepath.com/Godzilla, getnativepath.com/Godzilla. And you don't need a promo code there. And get your collagen today and try it. Look, $31. You try it for a month. Absolutely, I guarantee you're going to have success with it. In fact, I had somebody that called me up and said, "Hey, I don't really want to spend $31. This is a true story." And I said, "Look, here, I'll just send you one." Right? So I just went up there, put it in the mail, went by UPS, filled it out, mailed it to her. She called me back after 2 weeks. She said, I just ordered a 6 month supply. And this was only after 2.5, 3 weeks. Thank you for that. Because this thing is going to make a difference to how you feel. Jay knows it. I know it. Jack knows it. Nate knows it. Get Native Path. Peter's too young. He doesn't know any of this stuff. He's like 20. He doesn't need any. He doesn't need healthy.
We hate you, Peter.
Get all the vitamins. It's got he's young, right? Get a little long in the tooth like me and Jay. You start needing these supplements, dude. Peter, you'll find out in about, 40 years. But just go to getnativepath.com/Godzilla. Try it today. You can thank me and Jay later. And Jay, I love that frother, man. I put that now in my shaving kit. That's how much I love it.
I figured it out. I know you don't want to talk about it, but I figured it out.
We're going to piss him off if we talk about frothers.
I love it. I love it, though.
All right. So that was quite a live read for Native Path. Credit to them. Okay, so we have sort of our big college game of the week, something that we're thinking about. Just sort of wanted to just preview at least one game for everybody that's maybe still listening for some picks. We have LSU. They are a 7-point favorite, maybe down to 6 now, depending on where you're betting your sports at. They're playing the South Carolina Gamecocks in Columbia today. It's been a weird season for LSU. They didn't look great against USC. A little meltdown from Brian Kelly afterwards. The defense looks like it might have some problems. They rebounded against Nicholls State, which, thank God they did. Otherwise, there probably would have been fires in Baton Rouge. Jack, what are you thinking about for this game? Are you looking to bet this thing?
Yeah, I am. I think. I mean, I don't. I hate college football as far as trying to pick a wager. Well, actually, that narrative is untrue because I nailed a parlay last week and hit 3 games against the spread that I gave out on the show. So I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm incredible at this. I don't know. My confidence level should be skyrocketing. I guess my confidence level is always low when it comes to teams in the SEC. I can never see LSU clearly. I mean, I'm always picking against LSU because I hate them because I went to Ole Miss, and so then I'm like, oh, well, LSU sucks, and I don't know. I mean, I picked against them every week when they won the national championship and looked like a professional football team out there beating everybody by 60 points. What I'll say, I guess, on this game is I like South Carolina +6, mostly because LSU just hasn't looked good enough to tell me that they are a 6-point, almost a touchdown favorite. So what I am, if the spread was like +3, I might take LSU, but I think this game is going to be a little bit closer. Like you said, the Nicholls State bump, but I'm nervous because sometimes there's that overreaction and you think, okay, well, LSU hasn't looked that good, so I'm going to take South Carolina +6. It's so many points. I love it. And then LSU comes out and just torches them because they get the thing right. But I'm not really a Brian Kelly believer. I don't think that I think they might win, but I think it'll probably be pretty close. Could go into OT. You never know. These games are wonky. South Carolina is always kind of a plucky team, especially early in the year. They always give Georgia fits for the same reason. So I'm going to go South Carolina +6 here. And I probably will. I mean, like I said, I'm going to pick it. I'll go, on FanDuel. I'm out here in Arizona, so it's legal for me to do that. And now I'll probably get a little action there on the +6 for South Carolina. I am feeling a little confident since last week, but we'll see. We'll see. This is going to be a tougher game than I think people are thinking. Just as far as handicapping it, I think the +6 still makes me nervous, even with South Carolina and LSU looking maybe not so good.
Yeah, I mean, it's worth noting that LSU hasn't covered a game yet this season. I mean, the season's still pretty young. They've only played 2 games, but they lose outright to USC by 7 as a 4-point favorite. Then they play Nicholls State at home as a 46.5-point favorite. They coasted to a 23-point win, but not exactly what the sportsbooks were forecasting in terms of a blowout. Peter, do you have any sort of leans in this game? A little insight?
No, I would say I think LSU is going to win. I think the book has it right, but selfishly, I would love to see a Brian Kelly press conference when they're 1-2. But outside of that, I think LSU gets it done.
Yeah, love to see a Brian Kelly press conference as LSU gets dropped out of the AP poll after a loss today, and then he just has a total meltdown on TV. Yeah, Jay, what do you think about this game? I know you're researching.
I want to see if Brian Kelly can resurrect that Southern accent. When he that was priceless. I'm like, dude, how did you were in South Bend? Anyway, what I'm interested to see, guys, is the offensive line against LSU versus the defensive line of South Carolina, because South Carolina always has a prickly defense, and I'm not an LSU believer yet. I'm not, and I'm with you guys. I would not. It would not piss me off to see that press conference after listening to him walk something back after they go 1-2. So I'm going to bet the Gamecocks +6.
All right, John. Final word on this game, and then
I love LSU here. I love LSU -6. I would hate to be in those Brian Kelly practices last week. This guy doesn't lose 2 games in a row. He loses this game, their season's screwed. I mean, I just don't see it. They have better personnel. They have a better team. They're faster. They're quicker. They're a little bit bigger. South Carolina had a nice win last week. Yay. They haven't beaten anybody as far as I'm concerned. And I know they're at home. 6 looks good. I got sucked in like a baby on Michigan +6.5 last week. That's never going to happen to me again. I mean, that was an embarrassing pick I made. They suck. So I'm not getting sucked into this again. LSU's a better team. I'm going to go with the Tigers. Also got a pick that's not on the schedule that I just got to throw in. Backyard brawl, West Virginia -2 lock. They go to Pittsburgh. They blow them out. Love West Virginia today. Backyard brawl over Pitt -2.
All right. So we're
I'm
gonna.
gonna take Pitt just to spite him. I don't even know anything about that game, but I'm already taking Pitt. West Virginia sucks. Dad doesn't know how to bet college football. He never has. I'm taking Pitt. I'm logging into FanDuel right now. I don't know anything about Pittsburgh. I don't know anything about. I know West Virginia isn't good at football, so I'm taking Pitt. I'm going to play it up to -5.
If things don't work out and you lose your money, you can always drive it, lift in the middle of the night and try to make even because, if you want to go against Godzilla. By the way, you can go to Daily Picks every day and see who's way ahead and who's way behind. And I happen to be way ahead. So go to Godzilla Wins Daily Picks.
In baseball,
I'm up $10,000. I mean,
this is football, though. It's a different game. They take the pigskin, they throw it down the field. You don't know anything about football. You stink at betting football. So I'm taking Pitt. I'm playing the lineup to -5.
All right. So we're going to pivot away.
Fool and his money are soon parted. Isn't that what Benjamin Franklin said?
Pivot away from college football a little bit. And we are going to talk, while we have Peter here for this first hour, we are going to start sneaking in a little bit of NFL because Peter is our resident Ravens expert. And I know he's been thinking about this game against the Raiders. I wouldn't go so far as to say he's probably necessarily worried about it, but, definitely giving it some thought, I'm sure. Peter, what should we be watching for in the Ravens Raiders game? What are the 3 keys to victory, as it were?
Well, the poor Raiders get back-to-back Harbaughs, first and foremost. And I think don't overthink it. Like, the book is out on the Raiders. They scored 10 points. And how did that happen? Well, they faced the lightest boxes in the NFL. They faced a light box 82% of the time. So they had the most favorable run looks in the NFL last week, and they had the 32nd ranked EPA per play on the ground. So the least efficient rushing offense facing the most favorable rushing looks, stick with that. Give them light boxes, force them to run the ball, force them to play patient. Gardner Minshew didn't push the ball downfield. He had the 32nd ranked air yards per pass. So everything is being played within 10 yards with the Raiders. And the Chargers have a respectable defense, but they don't have Kyle Hamilton. They don't have Roquan Smith. So force the Raiders to try to get the ground game going. Couldn't do it last week. And off of that, couldn't go play action. 29th in play action. So the Raiders need to rebrand themselves and figure out a way to actually push the ball downfield somehow, even if they can't get the run game going, because that's just not going to be tenable going forward. My second key, I was so ready going into Thursday last week. I'm saying Derrick Henry is the Terminator, reprogrammed for good, finally out of stinky Tennessee on the Ravens, and he goes and gets 3 yards per carry. It's not the opening day that anyone would have hoped for. But fortunately, a much softer defense, run defense. The Chargers ran all over them. And, J.K. Dobbins always had skill, but, he was a cast-off from the Ravens, essentially. Tough injuries, but Derrick Henry should be able to do more than J.K. Dobbins. And the other reason for that is just Lamar had 16 carries. He got beat up last. Rest for Lamar, and I think that looks like Derrick getting the ball. The other thing is just kind of countering some of that pass rush, because what do the Raiders do well? It's Christian Wilkins, it's Max Crosby, 4th highest pressure rate in the NFL last week. So you got to get the ground game going. And then finally, when Lamar throws, I want it to be deep. I want a strong run game. I want hard play action, and I want him to push the ball downfield. We think of him as this aggressive passer, and last year he was 5th highest air yards per pass attempt last year. But week 1, it was middle of the road. You have these speedsters. Hopefully you have a good run game. So low volume, high passes, get Lamar out of here clean, and push the ball downfield.
Hey, Peter, can I ask you a question?
Yep.
I thought at the beginning of the game, that Thursday night game or whatever it was, Thursday night, I thought Henry got off to a great start that first drive, and it was like vintage Derrick Henry, got in the bulled his way in the end zone. And of course, my wife and I, Ann, we're rooting for Derrick Henry, even though he got traded. It's tough to root against him. He's such a quality guy, and basically put the Titans on the map. But then nothing. And, we thought he had another year in him on those wheels. I just got to ask this question. After the last 3 quarters of that game, he was no factor. Is he done?
He's not done. 13 carries, it's not a large enough sample size versus one of the best run defenses in the league.
Right.
Derrick Henry, I mean, I shouldn't say definitively that, he's not done, because we didn't see him in space. Like, he was contacted before the line of scrimmage, at the line of scrimmage, never got going. And the other thing to consider is I think we're having a different discussion about the Derrick Henry acquisition if Likely makes that catch, go for two, and it's his little pop pass for the 2-point attempt, and they win the game. And Derrick Henry has a touchdown and the 2-point game winner. But I believe that Derrick Henry can still go. I didn't look at it and say, oh my gosh, he's running in sand. It's just we had no plan for Chris Jones and had no push on the offensive line.
Well, Ann said in the fourth quarter of the game, my wife said, it looks like they not only got Henry, but they got the whole Titans offensive line, because it's the same thing. He's hit at the line of scrimmage like he was for 2 seasons, because we had no O-line. So
that's kind of the big problem is that guard play at the moment. Really.
Yeah, Jack, I know you have some thoughts about this.
Oh my God, I got so many thoughts. First, Peter, so you're saying you don't want Lamar to throw to Isaiah Likely 26 times a game for 4 yards per throw. That wasn't a great strategy for you. Hey, look, I mean, if you have Isaiah Likely in fantasy, I feel like you're loving this new game strategy. But you're right. I mean, I guess part of that, Peter, is just the Chris Jones pressure, and maybe Lamar just couldn't get comfortable in the pocket, and he knew that he had Isaiah kind of all day long. I do think that the running game is going to be important. But look, the Raiders are not the Chiefs. The Raiders kind of suck. So I think the Ravens will be just fine in this game. I know the spread is -8.5. I don't love that. I think it's too much. You could maybe tease it down, Nate. Maybe I'll find a little teaser, get that down to what, maybe 2.5 or something.
Yeah,
but we could, maybe a little teaser, maybe find that. Teasers never work for me, but they're always fun to play. The other thing I really like. Yeah, no, they don't. But man, the confidence level is skyrocketed when you tease a couple teams down, and then you win one and you think it's going to always work. It's like a parlay that way. The other thing I really the thing I like about this game, just from a betting perspective, I think, is Ravens over. I think it's 25.5. I already put that in. Just the team total over 25.5. The Ravens. The Raiders defense stinks. I think, and I don't know about the total is 41. I don't know if the Raiders can get there, but I think the Ravens, after last week, are going to be looking to score a lot of points here. I know they have to establish the run game, but that doesn't mean they can't get in the end zone. So I like the Raiders team total over 25.5 for the game.
Jay?
I look back at the way that the Ravens game planned against the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game last year, and it was like they don't run the ball. They stopped running the ball. They have a great first series on Thursday night, and it was a great game to watch. But where in the hell was Derrick Henry after that? I mean, I blame Harbaugh, the offensive coordinator. They're not getting him the ball enough. It's way too much in Lamar's hands. If you can use Lamar as more of a threat, but not have him get his ass kicked so much, you're going to have a better season and you're going to score more points. I mean, I think Derrick Henry is not done. At least I don't want him to be done. And what in the hell is going on with the Raiders? I can't figure out what they are. I don't know. Gardner Minshew, I mean, they've got some good players. I don't know how. Peter, how do the Raiders cover?
I mean, Christian Wilkins and Max Crosby wreck the game.
Yeah, and you have turnovers, right?
You're talking about one of the highest paid defensive tackles in the NFL lining up over either Daniel Fa'alele, who's a converted tackle and made his first start at guard last week, or a rookie at left guard. And if you think, Antonio Pierce and the rest of the Raiders coaching staff isn't cognizant of that, you're crazy. I mean, they might even put Crosby in on the interior, put those two guys inside. There's a possibility where this is just the Ravens are hamstrung by these guard plays. So I would say, I mean, this is a big week for them to show that they can have a balanced offense and it's not going to be Lamar ball for 17 weeks.
They've had a couple
Right.
extra days. They've had a couple extra days to prep, and I'm betting on Harbaugh because I love picking against lousy teams. And to me, the Raiders suck, but not as bad as the Panthers.
Yeah, they're a notch above the Panthers, and it's just a game that historically, I mean, Harbaugh wins. They beat the teams they should, and just are just a notch below the best of the best. So I could see this getting ugly and at home, long week, pissed off team, want to show off your new toy in Derrick Henry. So I could see this getting out of hand.
Yeah, I mean, and it's worth noting that, like, Lamar ran it 16 times in their debut game on Thursday Night Football against the Chiefs, but it wasn't like it wasn't 16 designed runs to get Lamar Jackson out there as a weapon. Lamar was running for his life often in that game because of protection breakdowns. So, there are real concerns there, if you are, I think, Baltimore in terms of offensive line play, and it bleeds into, Derrick Henry's effectiveness if he can't get good blocking.
Yeah, I just want to see an offense in rhythm.
Yeah, definitely. Just a better game plan to get Lamar into a little bit better rhythm. The last thing that, before we have like 3 minutes here to just talk about, I'll give it to John. We were all high. I mean, I was high with you on Aaron Rodgers, what he could bring to the Jets. I thought the Jets maybe had one of the best rosters top to bottom in the NFL, and they looked like trash against San Francisco. And I can't tell if it's just because San Francisco is really good or if maybe Aaron Rodgers is finally, father time finally caught up to him.
I bet the Jets. I picked them. They were my best bet of the week, actually. And they got blown out. And San Francisco scored on 7 consecutive possessions. So you got 3 takeaways here. Number one, you look at the 49ers without McCaffrey, and you look at that Jets defense, which is legit on paper. They weren't Monday night, but they are legit. They scored on 7 consecutive possessions. So my first question to my football panel is, who the hell can stop this team? I mean, who's going to stop them? Jets didn't stop them. You score on 7 consecutive possessions in the NFL on a Monday night game against what is supposed to be a Pro Bowl-oriented defense? You score on 7 possessions. They never stopped them on the third down the whole night. I mean, I said my jaw dropped. I mean, where's my Jets defense? It evaporated. I mean, I thought Rodgers did fine. I mean, he kept them in the game there at the beginning a little bit. I don't think he's the panacea for everything, but I got 2 takeaways. Either the Jets defense is a total fraud, which nothing changed from last season when they were phenomenal. So I'm thinking to myself, what changed here? I kept watching this game figuring, okay, they're gonna call a timeout and figure this out. They never did. Then I'm thinking to myself, if you ever think I'm betting against San Francisco again, and this what is he, a 3rd-year quarterback now, 2nd-year quarterback? I mean, this kid's phenomenal. This kid's hitting passes all over the place on a dime. Like, who is this kid? I don't know who's going to beat San Francisco in the NFC. I mean, there's not a lot of games that I see in pro football where I'm taken aback. I was taken aback by that team in that game on Monday night. And obviously anybody beating San Francisco. And the Jets go to Nashville this week. We suck. They suck. I don't know. Somebody's got to win, right? Flip a coin. We don't have a quarterback. They do. That favors them. But that San Francisco team, I don't know. Who can stop them, Peter, is my question. I don't know who can.
I was just going to say, I mean, some of that success is like the Jets are a very good defense. I still think they are, but they're not a size team. They're a speed team. And when the 49ers just run the ball for, 15 consecutive plays straight down up the middle, it's like, it's not what the Jets are built to do. They want to go side to side. They want Quincy Williams flying in and cleaning stuff up. And so they just got smashed. The other thing to consider is, I mean, where does Robert Saleh come from? Kyle Shanahan knows his brain. He game plans, knowing exactly what some of the keys are for that defense, some of the beaters. So it's like an inside job. The Niners are super talented, and it was a game plan that the Jets weren't ready for. The Jets offense to me is more of the concern.
Peter, thank you so much for joining us on this first hour. Tell everyone where they can find you on TikTok and social media.
Yeah, TikTok, Pete Takes. I do NFL content there. Just did a Von Miller breakdown yesterday. We are pushing 90,000 followers on there. I'm also on Pete Takes on Twitter, and through those there are links to articles and et cetera, and just keep you updated through that.
Peter,
Great job, Peter.
Thank you.
Right on, Peter.
We'll be back after a short reset for the next hour of NFL coverage.
Woo!
You're listening to Godzilla Wins on the John Fredericks Media Network. For a deeper dive without the jive, visit the website of winners, GodzillaWins.com. Let's get back to the show with the guys in the know, John, Jack, and Nate. It's Godzilla Wins on the John Fredericks Media Network.
Good morning again, and welcome back to hour 2 of the Godzilla Wins Saturday Picks Show, Picks and Predictions. We said goodbye to Peter, and we welcome in Mitch Rogers, doing a little car studio today for us. Thank you.
Yeah, I got the car set up going. We had some soccer this morning. I got some soccer later, so I'm in that full season. But yeah, let me know if you can hear me, if it's working. So.
All is well. You sound great.
All right, great.
Okay, so everyone, welcome to Godzilla Wins. If you're just joining us for this first hour, I got to remind you, this is a gambling show, and sometimes we do give out gambling picks, but it is for entertainment purposes only. And if you have a gambling problem, I want you to call 1-800-GAMBLER. That's 1-800-426-2537 if you live in Colorado, Illinois, Indiana, Louisiana, Maryland, Michigan, Nebraska, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, or Wyoming. You can call 1-800-327-5050. Visit gamblinghelpline-ma.org if you live in Massachusetts. Call 1-877-G-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY if you live in New York. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP if you're in Arizona, 1-800-522-4700 if you're in Kansas or New Hampshire, 888-789-7777, or visit ccpg.org if you're in Connecticut, 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa, or visit opgr.org if you live in Oregon. John, now that I've given the gambling disclaimer, why don't you tell them about DraftKings?
Well, I tell you what, you got to get fired up about what DraftKings is doing, and thanks for joining us today. And right now, they got a tremendous offer. All you have to do is put in promo code Godzilla. That's the most important thing. Just download their free app. Go to DraftKings.com, DraftKings.com. Download their free app. It is as simple as that. You download their free app, and then you put in $5. $5, right? Everybody's got $5. Like Mitch has got $5. Even Jay's got $5. Even Peter's got $5. I know Jack's got $5. I know Nate's got $5, right? By the way, Nate, great banner, great backdrop. You look fantastic. I love that backdrop. So whoever came up with that idea, that guy's brilliant radio guy. I love that backdrop. Mitch wishes he had a backdrop like that. He has backdrop envy. All you got to do, download the free Sportsbook app. Go to DraftKings.com. Now you put in $5. You got $5, right? Automatically, like magic, like a magic puff happens, and you get $250 of free bets. Like, who does that? This is like the inflation buster of all time. Forget the presidential race. You get $250 free money right off the bat. And then you can bet whatever you want. Now, if you're smart, you're going to go to GodzillaWins.com, go to Daily Picks, follow my picks there because I'm like way up, and I beat these millennials every week, and it's kind of a joke. But Mitch is here as Generation X to kind of represent the middle. That's all you got to do. $5 get you $250. Where are you going to get that? $5 get you $250. Even Jay's fired up about that. Then you can bet whatever you want. It's free money. Now, just download their app. Now, if you have a gambling problem, just call 1-800-GAMBLER, 1-800-GAMBLER. Now, with this $5 into $250 in free bets, these have to be utilized within 168 hours. I don't know how many days that is. Who can do math here? 4 or 5? I don't know how many days. It's 168 hours. I got to do the math.
About a week.
A week. You got to use it within 168 hours from when you put it in. So you got plenty of time, plenty of games. Just go to Godzilla Wins Daily Picks. It's all there. This is the best thing ever. But here's the key. Download the app. First thing you do, promo code Godzilla. That's going to get you $250 of free bets. Do it. $5, right? And then you can play with their money. Can't beat it. DraftKings.com, promo code Godzilla.
All right. So we got Mitch here. We got some NFL topics to talk about.
What's up, Mitch?
One is Dak Prescott got his bag. 4 years, $240 million, $60 million a season. It's a lot of money. The Cowboys are spending a lot of money right now. And the expectation, I think, from Jerry Jones is whenever we make a player the highest paid in the league, we expect to win Super Bowls. They've shown very little evidence that they're capable of doing that thus far with this roster. Mitch, are we just throwing in good money after bad with if you're the Cowboys?
I don't think so. The scrutiny that they were facing all offseason was the fact that they didn't do anything in the offseason, right? They didn't pick up any free agents. They were just kind of waiting to sign their own. You had the kind of holdout from CeeDee Lamb and obviously the Dak Prescott deal. And what's crazy, and, when you think of Jerry Jones, a lot of people, their first instinct is it's volatility and he's just quick, but he's conservative, man. He sticks with his coaches maybe a little bit too long. He doesn't want to make a lot of change because he knows that the first thing is getting to the dance. And they haven't lost a game at home in 16 games. This is a good team. And even if it's a good regular season team, it's a team that gets you to the playoffs. And he may be proven right. Like, hey, let's sign our own. Let's stick with it. I know everyone said, hey, they don't have a running back, but they have a rookie that might be coming up. And we know what the running back position is. So people just fill in that position and run with it. So I think they may have done the right thing. They sat and didn't go after a bunch of high price free agents. They signed their own. And yeah, on the surface, Dak's contract sounds high, but that's what quarterbacks get paid. We'll talk about it later. You got Kirk Cousins sitting there paid, and look at his performance. So I would take the Dak. I'll give him the bag. If he does that performance every week, he's worth it. And, they have one goal. They want to win a Super Bowl. It's been 30 years, and they decided to stick with their team, be a little conservative with it. And I think it may pay off. And I think they'll beat New Orleans today and, start off 2-0. And if you start off 2-0, 70% chance of making the playoffs.
Yeah, really good. Jay, they still have Micah Parsons has still got to get paid too. That's going to be the big one. Jay, should Cowboys fans be happy? As a Cowboys fan, I'm sort of just ambivalent. I think that my heart's been broken so many times that at this point I just can't take anything seriously that they do. Is this are they making real moves or are they just throwing money at things?
I'm not sure I care. Really, I'm just really not sure I care. But Jerry Jones is a billionaire, right? Get a football guy in there making football decisions. Great. They're getting to the playoffs. Mitch brings up good points. Plus, who else are you going to have? Who the hell else are you going to have? But I'm not sold on Dak. Dak's going to get you to the playoffs. They got absolutely their ass handed to them by Jordan Love and the Packers last year at home. That typically doesn't happen in the NFL to really good teams. I don't see it. I don't see. Again, the quarterback position in the NFL is so dang hard to fill. And we talked about this before. It is so hard to get a young guy in there that's got enough whatever it takes to stand up against all these other alpha dogs and be leaders. And I don't know. I like Dak. I like watching him in the regular season. He can put points on the board. I don't know what happens to him in the playoffs. And Jerry Jones over the years, it's just been it's almost like a soap opera when you get to watch him talk and make decisions about personnel. again, it's the inmates running the asylum for me. I don't see them. I don't see them winning a Super Bowl in the Jerry Jones era unless he passes the torch and gets a real football guy in there that can. He just doesn't listen.
Yeah, Jack. So the Cowboys have their quarterback thing. I think this is a good segue in our quarterback hour to also discuss the other quarterback that got paid in the offseason, which was Kirk Cousins debuting for your Atlanta Falcons. So any thoughts about Dak, and then we can just throw it right into the Falcons.
Sure. Yeah, I got a couple thoughts. The first has to do with the banner behind you, which I know John mentioned earlier. It looks okay. I wouldn't say it looks great. It was too expensive. And so when Dad takes that $250 in DraftKings and turns it into a little bit more, he can reimburse the company for the expensive banner behind you. It looks fine. It doesn't look great though. It looks okay.
Where's your
It
banner?
could be a little wider,
Where's
right?
your banner, Jack?
Yeah, it could be a little wider. Mine's under the bed where it will stay now forever. So that's where mine
If
is.
anyone's really having envy about this, I'm happy to pay for shipping to get it to whoever's.
Yeah. Hey, we'll do a giveaway. Anybody who wants a banner.
They wish they had a banner like that, of which basically it should be wider. I'll have to check that out when we get more money. I'll get you a wider banner. I kind of forgot about
Yeah. Let's spend more money on the banners. Every money that we make, let's just spend them on. We'll just keep shipping banners to Nate. He'll have 400 banners, and we'll never be able to pay for to keep the lights on. But Nate will be able to walk around.
The company's going to also have to pay for a storage unit for me to put all these banners.
You're giving me flashbacks. I used to work at a trade show company, so I feel like let's hit the trade show circuit. Hey, I have hookups on banners. I can get you anything you need. Wide, I'm good.
Yeah,
Capital Exhibit.
We used to do that stuff at the school too. We'd have a banner that had all these statistics about whatever. So yeah, we probably should default to Mitch here for some trade show advice. But as far as the I'll segue into the Falcons after the Cowboys. Jerry Jones has so much money that this stuff doesn't mean anything to him. It's like if you're playing a video game and you're just like, I'll just pay Dak Prescott whatever I want. Who cares? It's not real money. That's kind of how I think he sees this type of situation. And but I do think, I agree with Mitch. I agree with Jay. Right? Like, who else are you going to pay? There's nobody else out there that you can really that is like a viable option for a quarterback unless you want to draft one. And we know Jerry Jones' history with drafting. He Dak is a good quarterback. He throws a lot of interceptions in the playoffs. He's not going to win you a Super Bowl, but it's fun to get to the playoffs every year and lose. So it's better than a lot of teams. So I say good on it. As far as the Falcons go, it wasn't the most inspiring performance by our new quarterback and extremely exciting offense with all those weapons. The defense looks great as always. They got a really good defense now. And if it weren't for this kicker that I honestly think the Steelers should just, as soon as they receive the punt, should just kick a field goal. Because he can kick it from 86 yards. It's not like, I can't believe it. These kicking field goals from 67 yards or whatever. So I wouldn't even run any plays. I would just keep kicking field goals and win every game 27 to 26. You don't even have to run an offense, just have Russell Wilson hype up the kicker, and then the kicker boots it into the up through the uprights. But yeah, Kirk Cousins, I don't know. 25 of 33 for 257 is not exactly like lackluster. He threw one pick. He could only get into the end zone once. I think the Falcons will be fine. I'm not really, I think, overreacting on Kirk Cousins here. The Steelers are tough. Mike Tomlin's tough, especially this time of a year and early in the season when they're underdogs. They're just a tough team, and it was not a great way to begin a season that everybody's very excited about. But there's a reason I didn't take the Falcons in the over. It's because they do this all the time. So nobody was surprised that the Falcons looked like underwhelming once again.
Here's the thing about the Falcons, though, that I think a lot of the talking heads have been talking about. 96% of their offensive snaps were either out of shotgun or from the pistol.
Yeah.
Only 4% were with Cousins under center. There seems to be some real concern about Cousins' mobility. And if you're gonna run that much shotgun and that much pistol, and you're gonna run 0 designed runs out of the shotgun snaps, and 81% of your pistol snaps are designed runs. Everyone knows what's coming all the time. So if that doesn't change, and those are such heavy percentages that it just seems insane. Like if they just run that same game plan back in week 2, they are going to get crushed.
Yeah,
They're going to get crushed.
I agree. I don't understand. I mean, I think Kirk Cousins was the number 1 or number 2 play action passer last season and over the last 5 years. And to put him in a pistol and just let TJ Watt and company just tee off all day. Yeah, it just seemed like a bad game plan where, I mean, I know his mobility might be, questionable, but you can still do a play action every once in a while. And, when watching some of these breakdowns this week with the all 22, everybody was really looking at his Achilles and if he was pushing off his back foot, and the numbers look good, but those incompletions were all the ones where he was trying to go 15-20 yards over the middle of the field, trying to have a comeback, and he could just not get any push off there. So I think the injury concern, which they may have known about, and that may have been the reason they drafted another quarterback this early, because he's obviously not 100% healthy. So they're going to have to do something and incorporate play action pass with all those weapons in the running game.
John?
I
What do you
mean,
think about it?
Jack made me laugh when he said, it wasn't the most inspiring performance by Kirk Cousins. I mean, that's an understatement from a Falcons fan. I mean, they beat him. What they kick 5 or 6 field goals in this game? 6 field goals?
6 of them.
I mean, you can't get in the end zone. You're supposed to win a game at home when the other team can't get in the end zone. That's normally the way it works in football. I mean, they're just going to move the ball. They got bigger problems, guys. I mean, everybody picked them to win a division. People thought, maybe they could win a playoff game at home. But after that lackluster performance, and, it's interesting what Jack said. If you really think about this, as a non-Falcons fan, as just a football observer, 25 for 33 on paper is not bad. That is not pedestrian. That's pretty good, right? Guy goes 25 for 33, but he gets 1 touchdown, and really they couldn't consistently move the football. But this is vintage Kirk Cousins. The stats look great, but they don't win games. It's basically it. I mean, look, I'm a Titans fan, so I shouldn't be saying anything here because we were a disaster walking last week. But I don't see what is going to change here with this Falcons offense. It's like you're going through the same thing with a different quarterback. I mean, I looked at it last week, and at the end of the game, I said to myself, John, what's the difference between Cousins and Ritter? I mean, the L is still the same. The not moving the ball is still the same. The key interception is still the same. So you got Cousins. What's the difference? That's the question I think the Falcons are going to have to answer this week.
Yeah, Jay, I'll give you kind of like the last, and I guess we're also like not really giving any credit to like Pittsburgh for playing.
The defense was unbelievable. Yeah. They were unbelievable.
Their offense was underwhelming as it has been. But the thing, you guys, I probably kick this dog every time I think of Kirk Cousins, but I don't know any person in the NFL that's worked the financial system better. This guy's made he's on pace to pass Tom Brady in career earnings, and I'm like, holy smokes, has this guy won a playoff game? I mean, I think Mitch hit the nail on the head though. He is definitely not even close to 100% when it comes to trying to push off and throw that ball more than 15 yards down the field. I mean, he went 25 for 33, but what was his total passing yards? I mean, it was still it was almost like a high school football game, right? I mean, it was not NFL-like numbers. So it makes me wonder what they're going to do with Penix. Are they going? I mean, is he getting any reps? What does that look like? I mean, they've got so much invested in the quarterback position down there in Atlanta. If this thing doesn't work, man, it's trouble.
I'm glad you brought that up because they made fun of the Falcons for picking Penix so high, right? A lot of these pundits, when they start blasting picks, you got to wait and see what happens. Now, after this first game, Michael Penix doesn't look. That looks like they were pretty smart in the Falcons front office to get this guy, see what happens, Jay.
Yeah, and I guess I keep thinking about too, the quarterback play for Pittsburgh, the offense was a little bit underwhelming, but I think that we should give Mitch a little bit of time here because I've been of the opinion that Fields probably presents quite a bit more upside than Russell Wilson. and that you probably should see what you got with Fields before you go to Russell Wilson, not the other way around. Are you feeling the same after Fields' debut? Keep him on the field and keep Russ off of it?
And I do, and I think it worked out perfectly for Tomlin because, Tomlin, kind of guaranteed that, Russ would get the starting nod, but with his injury, you get to put the more electric Fields in, who has a higher ceiling. And you could tell that the game plan was, they didn't game plan for Justin Fields, all week long. And then you could see that it was kind of a limited game plan. They didn't throw anything over the middle of the field. They played very conservative, but they used his talents. What Fields is going to struggle with is the easy 5-yard timing completion. He just doesn't have that in his repertoire. And I know that's something that Arthur Smith is going to want to have, but you just have to recreate that. So you're seeing what they'll do for their easy 5 yards is kind of that rollout to the left or the right, and then having a receiver that you can throw to, or Fields can pass. But I think you give him another shot until, even if Russell Wilson gets healthy again, as long as he keeps winning and shows improvement. I think the game plan this week against Denver, and who has a much better defense or presents a lot of other challenges, I think this week you'll see some throws over the middle of the field. You'll see the tight end get involved and really see what he can do. But yeah, absolutely. Like the ceiling for, this is a first-round pick that was supposed to be the next Mike Vick, and he's coming from Chicago, so you don't know if he just was miscoached or mismanaged. So you give him, you let him go. If he goes 2-0, I don't care if Russell Wilson's healthy or not. I mean, you're dealing with mediocre quarterbacks with maybe some potential. You go with the hot hand, and that might be what you do all season long. So run with Fields now, and it's exciting. It's fun to have an athletic quarterback that can really take the top off a defense with his legs, and I think that will suit their offense better.
Mitch, can I jump in here?
Sure.
Can they at Pittsburgh, they have Big Ben for so long and the quarterback position was locked down. This has been a revolving door in there. Fields is obviously uberly talented, but I don't underwhelmingly performed in Chicago. I'm a Mike Tomlin fan, but I am not living where you and John live. Can he and that staff develop and show enough? All I feel like is Fields needs is a little bit of discipline and add some of these smaller things into his repertoire, because when he gets into open space, he's a baller. But when he's, the pocket passing thing, these little touch passes, he's all over the map. Can they do that in Pittsburgh?
I think what they're going to emphasize more than anything, and what his major flaw has been, is turning the ball over. The first center exchange of the game, they fumbled it, but he fell on it. That's the number one issue with Fields right now, is ball security. And when you have the most expensive defense, maybe one of the best defense in the league, turnovers are a killer. And Mike Tomlin, for better or worse, is the best coach at games that are 8 points and under, winning those games, and that's their philosophy now. Fields is off the field quick if he starts to turn the ball over. If they can fix that, then there's no question. I mean, that if he's not turning the ball over, then it's Fields all day long. I think Russell Wilson was only going to be the number one guy because he takes care of the ball even too much, where he takes too many sacks. So if Fields can limit the amount of sacks and the turnovers, they have a player that they'll keep in there. But if he starts turning the ball over, he's gone. I mean, that's the first.
I think you guys found your quarterback. I predicted Fields would be the starter by game 3. I was 2 games off, right? It was game 1, and now it's game 2. I mean, Wilson's done. So once again, my predictions are right. That's why you guys tuned me in, and I school everybody. I know it's embarrassing. So you guys just hang in there, right? We'll learn a little bit. But I told you guys he was going to be the quarterback in week 3, and now he's a quarterback. And I'm with Jay 100%. I think the Steelers system develops Fields, who is a very gifted athlete, and he's a very smart young man. So, look, he had problems in Chicago, right? They had all kinds of they didn't have the offensive weapons. I think the Steelers are going to slow this thing down for him. And you're right, when he gets an open field, I mean, you don't want anybody other than Mahomes with the ball in an open field situation. So I think they found their quarterback. I think they're going to turn him into something special, and we'll see what happens. I think as a result of that in the Steelers defense, you got to look now at the Steelers as a potential threat in the AFC after that game.
Oh, I love you.
Yeah. John, that's another thing you're excited about, Rosie's Gaming.
Well, listen, I love Rosie's game. I'm not in Virginia right now. I'm in Pennsylvania, where, we're going this bus tour trying to get the vote out for November 5. Obviously, we're not going to get into politics. But when I go to Virginia, I was just there a couple of weeks ago. Ann and I would love going to Rosie's. It is the best place to go. Go to rosiegaming.com. Here's the reason why. The takeout's bigger. I mean, it's simple math, right? Of any casino, any slot machines in the country, you're going to get a bigger payout and bigger jackpots at Rosie's because the state takeout mandated to get the machines there by the General Assembly is the lowest in the country. So the takeout, the payout to the players are better. That's why you get the biggest jackpots, the biggest payouts, and you have the most fun. It's a different atmosphere. It's not like going to a casino where everybody's smoking and it's dark and they pump oxygen in. No, Rosie's is different. They got the exact opposite. And the food is great. The atmosphere is fantastic. You're going to love it. You go upstairs, you got the bar, the sports book, you got OTB, the whole thing. Colonial Downs now, the season over until next spring when we'll be there in our suite. But all you got to do is go to rosiegaming.com. They got locations all over Virginia. Dumfries, they got Roanoke and Vinton, Hampton, Richmond just by us, New Kent between Hampton Roads and Richmond. They got Emporia now, just Collinswood just outside of Danville. No matter where you go, there's a Rosie's. Check it out. Go to rosiesgaming.com. Have fun, win money.
We're going to stay on quarterbacks, and I'll give Jack the sort of first word on this as we move towards Deshaun Watson, who's got a world of problems. He has not played well. He was 0 for 10 on passes of 15-plus yards downfield, which is the worst of any quarterback since 2006 when air yards were first tracked. He had a 36.9% passing success rate, which was only better than Daniel Jones last week. They had 54 yards at halftime of their game and 1 first down. And now Deshaun Watson, if the bad play wasn't enough, Deshaun Watson is also staring a $92 million problem right in the face as another accuser has come out with evidence that he has sexually assaulted her. She'll be meeting with the NFL with her attorney in the next couple of weeks, and there should be more sort of information forthcoming about whether or not this will result in a contractual default and allow the Cleveland Browns to escape from this Deshaun Watson contract. Jack, could things be going any worse for Deshaun Watson right now?
No. I mean, I don't know how they could be going any worse. Things aren't going well for him. That's for sure. This has been a rough couple days for Deshaun. I saw something on Twitter. I don't like bringing this stuff up on Twitter that often because I can't attribute it to the original poster, which is always sort of, you're just kind of stealing their content, but it was too good not to share. It said only in the Browns world does Baker Mayfield suddenly become better than Deshaun Watson. Like that would only happen to the Browns. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's pretty rough. I guess what I'll say is it's time for Jameis. It has a lot to do with all sorts of things. The off the field stuff, of course, is awful, but then he stinks on the field too. The Browns do have a pretty good team around them. They don't need an electric quarterback to win games. They do need an electric quarterback to win the Super Bowl, but Deshaun is far from electric, and this is not an overreaction. He's stunk last year. He's injured all the time. This is just his career is basically over. Nobody's going to take a chance on this guy again. He's an expensive problem for the Browns, but he's going to have to be an expensive problem for them. And I think, I'm ready for Jameis. I mean, we love Jameis Winston. Like he is the most beloved backup quarterback in this sport. Put him in the game and let NFL fans have Jameis Winston back.
He's got contacts now. He can see. Let's go.
That's right. We love Jameis. So
we deserve Jameis.
Yeah, he did steal the lobster at Tallahassee, which
crabs. But you know what?
Crab legs.
Now he's got enough money to buy
crab legs. That's right. Yeah,
he stole the crab leg. Look, he made a mistake, right? And he apologized. The guy made a mistake. He's young. He's young. Kids screw up, right? I mean, I got kids. We all screw up. I screwed up. We screw up, right, Mitch?
He's also not the only one stealing food in supermarkets in Tallahassee.
I know,
Florida,
but he apologized.
Now with Niddle, that seems ridiculous. There's people paying $500,000.
Okay, it was stupid, and he apologized. And it's kids do dumb things, and now he's got to live with that forever. It's just stupid because he certainly had the money to buy it. It's just dumb. But having said that, culture matters. And this whole Deshaun Watson thing, I mean, I just don't want anything to do with it. I cringe at the whole thing. But I bought into the Browns hype last week. I bet the Browns, another loser. I think the game was over in like the first 4 minutes of the game. That was a goner. Watson looked. The Browns, I mean, it's like I would hate to be a Browns fan because like whenever you think you're going to be good, you're not. Right? You're just not. And like the bubble always burst. But let me just do a sidebar here. Mitch, I know are you in Pittsburgh now or you're on your way to Pittsburgh?
No, that game's next week. Yeah. The game's in Denver. Yeah.
Next week. So you're going to Pittsburgh next week. Just quick shout out. Mitch's dad had open heart surgery. So just give us an update. How's he doing?
Oh, he's watching right now. Thank you all for all your support. Yeah, it went well. The surgery went well. Now it's the recovery. He's already out of ICU. He was out of ICU in 5 hours after the surgery. So he's kicking ass. But sorry for the AM listeners. But yeah, he's doing great, and he's in recovery. And right after this, I'll be going up to Inova Fairfax, who saved his life. So I can't be more grateful.
Now, is he going to be okay to travel to see the Steelers home opener?
No, he's not yet. No. But he wants us to go in his honor. We're figuring that part out now. So he's not going to be able to travel.
Good.
All right. Let's keep going on football stuff. We're gonna have to talk about the Titans at some point, but before we talk about the Titans and John spends the next 29 minutes discussing it, let's go ahead and make some money first and talk about Native Path.
Check. My son needs some. My son keeps putting the Native Path in his coffee and spilling his coffee. That's why he keeps getting off air. This is what the third time.
No, it's only the second time, and I have a very small setup here, and I just put the coffee by my feet, and I keep spilling it. But
now he's blaming the setup. Like he's spilling the coffee because he's put. Now, Jay, if he had a frother, he'd be in good shape. He needs a frother. Jay, we need to get my son a frother. That would solve all his problems.
I think my truck has.
He wouldn't be spilling this coffee. Listen, guy, good. You can get a frother too, like me and Jay. We love our. I love my frother. I got 3 of them. I travel. I put one in my shaving kit. I love my frother. So finally, I figured out how to use it, and I'm so excited. All you got to do is go to getnativepath.com/Godzilla. Getnativepath.com/Godzilla. Look, I got my coffee right here. I just mixed on the break, right here in the Trump bus. I put my collagen in it. Second cup, put a little half and half in it because you got to get a little fat in your body because good fat is good for you. Don't read all the nonsense, right? It's good. By the way, this is my RNC Milwaukee cup, just FYI. And then I put it up with my frother, and that I don't taste it, but I know it's healthy for me, and I know it only cost me $24 for the whole month. How much is that, Jay? 30 divided by 24. How much is that? Like 80
less
cents?
than $1 a day. Let's say
80 cents. It's less than $1 a day. Like I'm going to get healthy and feel better for 80 cents a day. Are you kidding me? I'm in.
John, my joints on that stuff, unbelievable.
I mean, you're going to have immediate relief to your joints. It's going to take about 2 to 3 weeks. But once you're on this stuff, you're never going to go away from it, especially as you get older, because all that stuff, it just goes out of your body. You need the collagen. I'm such a believer in it. Ann looks fabulous. My whole team is on it. We had a women's challenge on our team. They all look fantastic. And I got a lot of estrogen running around in my company. So we got to keep them sharp and healthy. Jay knows that. It's like the women run the whole thing. I'm just a figurehead, kind of a sad situation. Just go to getnativepath.com, getnativepath.com. You don't need a promo code. You can get your collagen for as little as $24. Like say 50% off. Check it out today. Getnativepath.com/Godzilla. You're good to go.
John's ornamental role is probably the best thing that could happen in this company.
I'm just a figurehead. Hey, I did make a decision though. I made a decision when Ann was out of town. I wait till she goes out of town. And I said, well, you were out of town. I couldn't get in touch with you. So she was traveling. I did make one decision this year, and that was your banner. I made that decision. I didn't go to her. I didn't go to Jack. I didn't go to anybody. I made the decision because she was traveling. And so I'm very proud of myself, Jake, because it's the first decision I've made in the company in 2024. It was Nate's banner, and everybody loves it. So right again. I should get a little more authority.
All right. So I'll just give. I know that anyone, if they start talking about the Titans before you, is going to probably get talked. So just John, just let it out. How do you feel about Will Levis?
Well, listen, I had a column last week on the Titans game, which is the third opening season loss in a row we had. It was the most bitter, and the Giants game was horrible, and there were others, but this was very, very bitter. 17-0 lead, could have been 21-0. I mean, everything going our way. The defense played better than we thought, up to what I thought it would be. Our veteran defensive backs that everybody imported in, like the Over the Hill gang. I don't know how long that if they can last 17 games. They were stellar in the first game. If you're a Titans fan, every time last season there was a 3rd and 10, there was a flag, no flags. They didn't have a single flag in the secondary. They got after the quarterback all day long. The defense controlled that game. Enter Will Levis. And he gave the game to Chicago. It's not that he made a mistake. He gave them, he said, you know what, Chicago, here, I want you to win this game. And he gave it to them. Now, he had a blocked punt, which was another, special teams catastrophe that Vrabel was plagued with. So they got to fix that. Can't be giving up blocked punts when your head's 17-0 in the third quarter to turn the game around. But there was a reason why Will Levis was passed over in the first round. He sat there with his family all day and had to go to the second round. Kentucky knew he had an issue. NFL scouts knew he had an issue. Amy took a shot with him, and the guy's got a screw loose. I don't even know how to say this, Mitch. There's something like when he's under pressure, and sometimes this happens to people, when they get under pressure, like wires start disconnecting. Shorts go off in your brain. He's not a bad young fella. He's pretty smart, pretty book smart. He got good grades, so he's not dumb. He's just under pressure, the brainwaves go. And they saw this in Kentucky. NFL scouts saw it. That's why I got passed over. 2 interceptions that he had were not interceptions. Not like I go back and I didn't see this safety coming over and I threw a pick. No. These were, I'm going down. My defense is controlling the game, and I'm simply going to chuck the football like you do in middle school backyard game. I'm going to chuck the football, and I'm going to chuck it. Don't know where it's going. I'm just going to chuck it. Here, chuck, here, take it, here. I'm going to chuck the football. And so Chicago intercepts it, runs it back for a touchdown. Then he's going down again. They still got the lead. They got 7 minutes to go. Punt the football. Your defense has been in control the entire game. They didn't get a drive. They didn't get one legit drive that whole game. Now I'm going down again. Let's chuck the football again. These weren't passes. These were just chucks, underhand, sidearm to nobody. Nobody open. Nobody there. He just throws it. Brainwaves don't connect. I don't know how they fix this. I don't know how you coach this. I think the guy's got some kind of a mental issue. But fifth game, Mason Rudolph's going to be the quarterback. I don't think this kid's an NFL quarterback. And if he does it again next week, he's done. Callahan doesn't have the time with his team. He's got an old team now. Old team, if we go down the tubes again, we're in a massive rebuild where we win 2 games or 1. He's got an old team. He's got a bunch of veterans. He's got to do something. Titans should be 1-0. They're 0-1. This guy's a catastrophe. He was a catastrophe last week. So we'll see what happens. I don't think he's an NFL quarterback based on what I saw a week ago twice.
Yeah, it feels like last season he had DeAndre Hopkins to, kind of as his crutch, to throw. He could throw the ball up, and had some success with that. And when he's not in, you're exactly right. The progressions and seeing the field, and the thing is you just can't turn the ball over. I mean, that's the cardinal sin. And I get it. Well, you want to see if he's dynamic and so forth, but you're going to have to reduce this game plan. And but you're right. If you do that too much and you just have you have a game plan that you can't even have a quarterback be better than a top 15 quarterback. And you have Mason Rudolph sitting back there who just came off, very successful 4-game run, to end the season last year. It's got to be tempting because, Mason Rudolph in practice is probably way better than Will because he's just that veteran backup dude, so he makes all the right throws, all the right reads, especially when he's, so I'm sure there's pressure on getting him out of there. But then Mason Rudolph, for whatever it is, it just doesn't doesn't bring anything exciting to the table, but he may be the best option, and he is.
Well, W's are exciting. L's are not.
Yeah, and he's molded into Tomlin. Don't turn the ball over.
These were not picks. Like, okay, I didn't see the safety coming. Okay, I didn't see the double coverage. Okay, I was under pressure. I tried to thread the needle, right? This was none of that. This was, oh my God, I'm under pressure, and I'll just chuck the football.
Yeah.
I mean, here, take it. Woo-hoo-hoo. I mean, it was like watching this thing. You go insane watching this, and then the screenshot at the end where he's going like this. It's like, yeah, what the hell is wrong with you, young fella? I know he's got a big arm. He's a great kid. Everybody says he's a great young fella, and he got good grades. But under pressure, look, we know this, Jay. You know it. You played golf under pressure. My son Joe knows it. Coming in, Jack saw it coming in. Guys on bases loaded, and Texas Christian University tie game. 10,000 fans screaming. I mean, if you can't take that and your brain waves disconnect, I mean, you're just not going to be successful playing at that level. This was the wrap on the guy. This was the game he blew at Ole Miss, right? Giving the ball away. So it goes on. And look, I like the kid. I like him. I love his arm. I just don't see it. That game last week, he gave it to the Bears. And it was not interceptions because he misread something. It was just panic. And then something shorted in the young man's head. I don't think he's an NFL quarterback. Malik Willis, not an NFL quarterback. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, and just to put like an actual grade on Levis, PFF graded him 29.9 in his first game. Think of those like academic grades. Aaron Rodgers had an 84.4 in his first game against the Niners, even though he looked fairly unspectacular. But that's a B. That's a solid B. But Levis wasn't even close to just having just sort of like even like a modestly capable.
Guys, what about Caleb Williams?
Yeah, so that's our next segment. We had a lot of quarterbacks that sort of underwhelmed. We had a lot of quarterbacks that sort of surprised us, and I think we're going to spend quite a bit of the rest of the show just talking about kind of what do we expect from some of these guys moving forward. Caleb Williams being one of them. Jack, what are your thoughts on some of this?
Well, first, I can't believe we spent 10 minutes talking about the Titans. They're going to win 5 games.
Oh, I can.
Here we are just like going on and on about a team that's irrelevant. And leave it to Dad to overreact. And the guy has one bad game, and he's like, he needs a psychological evaluation in an MRI. Like, he's gonna be fine. He's just he just had one bad game. So I mean, he's not any good, but he's on the Titans. Of course, he's not any good. Like, that's the Titans. They all suck on the Titans. That team is like a joke. I can't believe it. Like, 10 minutes on, we only have so much time in this air, and we spend 10 minutes talking about an irrelevant team that's going to win 5 games that has no business really even playing in the National Football League right now. They're going to lose again this week. I don't even know who they're playing. I know they're going to lose. They're
playing the Jets. This is a big game for John.
Yeah.
Huge game for John. Both teams suck, but the Jets will win that game handily. As far as quarterbacks who, I guess like overreaction central here with the week 1, this quarterback, that quarterback, etc. I liked what I saw from Caleb Williams, but we'll see as we go forward. I'm not exactly sure the Titans are the best litmus test for success as a quarterback. Baker Mayfield, I thought, looked really good. I'm pretty excited to see what he can bring to the table as well. Had a really fun time watching the Stafford Goff show. Both that game, the Rams Lions never seems to disappoint. It was a great Sunday night game, went into overtime. Both those quarterbacks look pretty sharp. But as far as overreacting goes, I think Kirk Cousins was going to be fine. That'd be my biggest one, where it's like I think he'll probably right the ship. But I'm really excited to see what Baker does. And then, of course, the stars, obviously, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, etc. But if we're just talking about some of these guys who we're still not sure about, Baker Mayfield, I think, is going to have a really strong year this year.
Yeah, I mean, Baker looks great. I think that, one of the big ones we need to talk about, and Jay sort of teases a little bit, is like Caleb Williams did not look great in his first start. That's
64 yards, Nate.
Yeah.
64 yards passing.
Yeah. The offense generated 100
148 yards of offense, 2 for 13.
Did they score an offensive touchdown, or was it?
No.
They scored 24 points on defense and special teams, right? So, I mean, that's interesting. Good for them. That's a lot of points for the defense and the special teams. But not scoring an offensive touchdown and winning a game at the last second, pretty crazy.
And I think I saw some stat that like the number 1 overall pick is something like 0-9 in their debut, maybe 0-10 now after Caleb Williams. It's something like ridiculous. And it's like a stat that makes sense because you get the number 1 pick because you're a bad team, right? And then your good quarterback goes out and the rest of the team still sucks. And then you go out and lose your first game as a rookie. So I don't know if that like stat is like meaningful other than like, it's just a reminder that like they probably had the first round draft pick for a reason because they stink. And I think that the Bears are probably feeling a little bit like that, even though there's got to be some relief because they were able to sort of squeak out the win. Jay, are there any other sort of quarterback situations that you're looking at that you're interested in?
I got to tell you, it's almost like the car. I'm an Aaron Rodgers football fan. I think he's kind of a nutbag off the field. I'm not sure about going to the dark place and all of the seances and whatever.
It's fun. It's fun. You should go sometime. It's cool.
I would try any of that if it would have helped me play better golf, but I never got that deep in the hole. But I'm interested. We all know Father Time's completely undefeated, and is it over for Aaron Rodgers? I don't know. For whatever reason, I want the Jets to do well. I don't even know why. I'm sitting here in St. Louis. I want the Jets to do well. And that game last week was just a buzzkill. I'm also I'm kind of fascinated by Bryce Young. Is he how bad? I mean, guys, look at the haves and the have-nots in the NFL. It's unbelievable. You like Jack, I love what you said about the Rams and the Lions game. What a fun game to watch, And then you're going to go watch Bryce Young or Caleb Williams pass for 64 yards. That's not one pass. That was 4 quarters of football. I don't know. I don't know we talked about this a couple of shows ago, guys, but it is so difficult to make that step from college football into the NFL. Some guys can do it. Most can't.
Yeah, and I feel like an idiot. I mean, I was pretty optimistic about the Panthers actually maybe being a sort of competent team. I was like, well, they got Canales, he's a quarterback whisperer. He had Baker Mayfield and Geno Smith both had the best seasons of their careers with Canales as coordinator. And then he gets to Carolina, and it's just like maybe Bryce Young is just broken. I mean, there was an argument to be made that, Geno Smith was broken before, and maybe Baker. But man, Bryce Young might be a little bit bigger of a reclamation project than anybody was anticipating. Mitch,
it's weird. So Bryce Young, and I know I went on my rant and diatribe that he was going to have a good season. It feels broken because the reason why he was picked number 1, even being undersized, is that no matter what level, middle school, high school, college, he's one of the most accurate passers and has pocket presence that anyone had seen going up to those levels in the last 10 years. And there were some throws last week where he's just missing wide open receivers over the middle. There was a third, when the game was still kind of in the balance, he, for like the first quarter, he missed like this crazy third down throw that was so wide open. So, yeah, I think he's broken. I would love to see him get better. I love him as a person. I loved him in college, and I'm a big Bama fan. But the quarterback that I'm watching, and I think I said he might have a sophomore slump, and I'm taking it back. CJ Stroud is the quarterback that I'm looking at, and this guy's he's a superstar, and we're gonna get to see Caleb Williams and him on Sunday night battle. But I mean, he that game against the Colts with another second-year quarterback, he was just super impressive. And it's not just he's making the reads and the throws, like he's making the progressions. He looks like a polished NFL quarterback. I'm glad to see that because sometimes you can shine the first year because people don't have tape on you. So I like that he got off to a fast start. He's going to get to play a Chicago Bears team that he should be able to beat. So get that confidence up. But CJ Stroud is one of the futures and bright spots of the NFL and the quarterback position when there's not that many right now. So I'm looking at him this week, and he's my one real big bright spot for young quarterbacks.
Yeah, John, final word on quarterback play in the NFL?
I thought Caleb Williams managed the game, kept them in it, didn't make a key mistake, and gave his defense a chance and special teams a chance to win. He didn't show me much, to be honest with you, but it was his first game. Court's out. I mean, you can't judge the first game, but look, he got the W. So, but as far as Bryce Young, you guys know on the show, I've never been a Bryce Young fan. I think he's undersized, too skinny, too small, just not a net, just not what anybody thought he would be, and now Carolina's stuck with him. I hope he does better, but it's tough to tell when that team is just so bad. But yeah, C.J. Stroud, Texans, a guy in the Colts, machine gun, whatever his name is, Kelly, or what's his name, the guy that AR something. I mean, these are two really good quarterbacks. I mean, if that's going to be a tough division, because then you add in the young fella on Jacksonville, Trey Lawrence. There's three great quarterbacks there. So that AFC South should be a fun division, minus our disaster.
So, all right, John, tell us about Healthy Cell, and then we'll go around the horn with our best bets for
Yeah, I love Healthy Cell. I mean, I take a lot of their stuff. I take their vitamins every day. Just took it when I get up. They're multivitamins. You go to GNC, you try to take stuff in a bottle, you just pee it out. Especially as you get older, you don't want all that crap in your stomach. The thing about Healthy Cell is you rip it off, you down it. You got the vitamins that go right in. I travel all the time. I don't get enough sleep. I got to take these supplements to keep me healthy. And look, 66, I'm going strong. So, I'm a testament to all this stuff. Just go to healthycell.com/Godzilla, promo code Godzilla. You're going to get 20% off. I mean, I take 3 things of Healthy Cell a day. REM sleep every single night. I never miss that. Travel with it. I take the bio, all the vitamins in that, and I take the focus. Get a little bit older, right? You want to be sure you're sharp. So these are the 3 supplements I take every day. If you got to pick one of them, pick REM sleep. If you can pick 2, get the bio, so that you have all the vitamins there. Just tear it off and down it, and it goes right into your system and absorbs into your bloodstream, because we don't get enough vitamins today. We don't get enough nutrients. The food is bad. That's why I'm a big RFK Jr. fan. America's sick. He should have been VP, but I'm not going to go there. Go to healthycell.com/Godzilla, healthycell.com/Godzilla, and promo code Godzilla. You're going to get 20% off. And by the way, he would have been a much better VP. He was my first choice, and once again, I was right. But
you remember how you always blame us for bringing up politics, and then that sort of gives you an entrance, and then sometimes you just bring it up without an entrance, and it just makes you look like a giant jerk.
Also,
I just try to get a rise out of you guys.
Yeah. Also, you're lying. I had a lot of conversations with you about who you thought would be vice president as that pick, and who you were speculating would be, and who you thought would be a good vice president.
Well, it's not who I thought. It's who I wanted.
JD Vance was never on that list. You never mentioned RF. No, it wasn't. You're just this is complete nonsense that you.
Well, that's because you don't tune into my show. Anyway, we
got
to get to our picks. If you tune into my show, if you got up at 3 a.m. and tune into my show, you'd learn. You'd be a lot smarter. But I know it's 3 a.m.
I wouldn't tune into your show if it was at noon. Forget 3 a.m.
Well, I know that's if
it just played automatically in my house, I'd leave probably. I'd just go somewhere else for a few hours. So yeah, none of us.
But I tell you what.
Anyways,
when it's all said and done, your banner backdrop looks fabulous.
It really doesn't. Actually, it looks awful.
You're jealous. Go ahead, Nate. He's just jealous.
All right, so I know what I kind of like, and it's stupid. And Jack's about to disown me as a friend because all I do is give him loser picks every game.
Yeah, that's true.
But I'm sort of pretty high on Seattle still. I'm not sold on the Patriots actually being a good team, so I'll lead and just say I kind of like the Seahawks against New England.
What do you like about Seattle?
-3. What's that?
What do you like about Seattle?
I like their coach. I think that Geno will grow into this offense. I think that, they had a little bit of growing pains. I think the defense showed some pretty immediate returns. I
was hoping Geno would retire.
No, let's go Mountaineers. What are you talking about?
I mean, I think that they were just unlucky to play as close of a game with Denver as they did. And I think that they sort of found themselves in the second half, and that's more indicative of the type of team they'll be. Anyways, that's enough about me and my Seattle love, now that I've had to sort of abandon my love of the Carolina Panthers, although I don't hate them as a bet this week either, just because how much worse could they possibly be? Jack, you lead the way with some of your hot bets.
Well, so I said this earlier, Ravens team total over 25 and a half, like that one. I'm going to be a square and take the Chargers. They're -4.5. They just keep getting hammered down because, everybody still thinks that there's no way the Panthers are going to have a game like that. But it just looks too good to pass up. I'm probably wrong on that. And I said that even in my Godzilla wins. I mean, it's super square. It's like the most square thing. Like, oh, Panthers got blown out. The Chargers are going to blow them out. That's not how the NFL works. The Chargers will end up losing or something stupid like that. But I'm going to take the Chargers -4.5. And then I guess the only other game I was kind of looking at was, and this is also stupid. God, I suck at this. The Commanders -1.5. The Giants are so bad. And I know the Commanders suck too, but I mean, the Giants are like trash. So, and it's in Washington, tough to play up. And I don't know, where do they play up? Somewhere in DC,
Maryland,
tough to play
FedEx
there.
Field
Yeah, Maryland,
sucks,
right?
yes.
FedEx Field. So I'll take the Commanders too. But like I said, I mean, I'm such an awful. I'm like 4-5 on Godzilla wins daily picks for NFL, but I could be 0-9. Like, I mean, it's all luck. I just stink at the NFL. It's too hard. But those are my picks. Follow me for more.
Jay, what are your picks this week?
First of all, I have to say this. I don't like Jim Harbaugh. I can't stand Jim Harbaugh, but it's hard to argue what his results are in the NFL. And actually, wherever he goes, the guy wins. I think Carolina is awful, and I love betting against awful teams. So, not that I've done this for a long time, but I have bet for quite a while. Guys, 80% of the time, pick the winning team in the NFL. It's not that easy, but the spread matters 20% of the time. Just watch it if you're keep it in the back of your mind. I'm also intrigued to see what's happening in Green Bay. Is Jordan Love going to play?
No.
If he's not going to play, then I'm all over it. I like Indy. I thought Richardson had. I love what Mitch said about C.J. Stroud, and watching Richardson and Stroud go back and forth, I'm like, this is a showcase for the future of the NFL, right? I love those two guys. So I know it's hard to win in Lambeau. It's hard to win on the road, but you got to have a quarterback, man. And that's one of the reasons why I'm betting against the Panthers. I know they're home. They can't possibly be as bad as they were last week, but I think they will be. And I think Harbaugh will figure out a way to win. Those are my two favorite games. I'm intrigued by the Kansas City-Cincinnati game, guys, because I'm a gigantic Joe Burrow fan. I love watching good quarterback play, but Cincinnati was awful last week. They turned the ball over, to Mitch's point, and if you turn the ball over in this league, it's the big L.
Mitch, what are you watching?
All right, I'm going to go from good quarterback play to crappy quarterback play. I'm going to go with my Steelers Broncos at first. All right. Broncos. I mean, this Mike Tomlin and this defense teeing off against a rookie quarterback. They're only two. I'm going with the Steelers. I'm loading up the Steelers money line. They're going to win by more than 2.5. The Steelers will score at least a touchdown and 5 field goals. So I'm going with the Steelers. Just that defense against a rookie quarterback. I don't care if it's Sean Payton or not. But I am loading up the Texans over the Bears. So, karma or whatever, the ship's going to be righted. The Bears should have lost last week. They didn't really do enough to win. That'll come back to bite them this week, and they're going to get a nice fat loss where Caleb Williams is going to feel this one. He's going to have a better day statistically, but with the L. And welcome to the NFL. That's just the way it goes, Caleb. So I'm going to go Pittsburgh and Texans.
Pittsburgh and Texans. John, take us out for the last 90
I got
seconds.
7 picks. I got to do this in a minute.
Oh
And you can find
God almighty. Oh, and then his internet
Oh, he
cut
went
out.
out.
Oh, crazy.
Oh,
man.
Victor
Internet's
John.
gone for John, so we got to finish the show without him.
My parking lot internet.
All these
man.
competing
Hands doing that.
Moneyline
Hands
underdogs.
Oh my God, I'm
Bolt
so
-5.
sad. Oh, look, there he is.
I love the Colts -3 in this game because who the Packers starting, Malik Willis, can't throw his way out of a paper bag. I'm going with Jack in Washington -1.5. 2.5. This team is going to be a shocker. I love Justin Fields. I like the Steelers. And my other pick, I love number 7, Dirty Birds, Falcons, plus 6.5. I think Kirk Cousins comes back. Their defense played relatively well last week. I love the Falcons getting 6.5. Those are my 7 picks. Go to GodzillaWins.com. All my picks up there. Daily picks. All of our picks are there. Go there every day. You can get it all.
Thank you for joining us for another riveting episode of Godzilla Wins Pick Show. Good luck with all your wagers today, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, guys.
This is Golf with Jay Delsing.